Alrighty, that's there. That seems to be there. Everything's working amazingly enough. Never would have thought that. Look at that. I think we're ready to go, pretty much. Let me just tweak the camera position a little bit. That's a little better, I think. Maybe pull it down a little. Just a little. Yeah, it's a little more comfortable. So we are now live. And it is Friday night. And it is time to talk anime. As we are wont to do on Friday nights. Just pulling up the news here real quick. Let's see here. Is anything particularly awesome going on in the world of anime and manga? Not seeing anything. Hey everyone. Going well, thank you, Gorilla. It's exciting. It's been a long week, but a good week. Stuff getting done. There's a lot going on at work, and some progress on various projects. Let's see what else here. Always hard to tell what's going to be really remarkable. Hard to skim through all of these headlines. See what seems particularly interesting. Crunchyroll announcing, oh, we've licensed this, we've licensed that, which is fine, but not something I normally would cover here. Panic! DBZ turns 30 years old. I think more than that. Yes, Jonah Arts. I have seen Space Runaway Ideon, both the TV series and the movies. Although I admit I have not seen every episode of the TV series. So I've seen. I skipped some of the middle of Ideon because it gets kind of repetitive there partway through. Not doesn't make me angry or anything. Doesn't make me frustrated, but all that. Got you a good D&D group today, or being an anime fan. Salcombi, if you could rephrase that. I'm afraid I can't quite understand what you're asking. Let's see here. Looks like. Let me see here. Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball Z only 30 years old? It seems like it would be older than that, doesn't it? Let's see here. Yep, nope, the anime series aired starting April 26th, 1989. So, yep, 30 years old. That's pretty cool. There's a DBZ Blu-ray Disc Collector's Edition on its way. Funimation needed 3,000, pre-orders, and which they got. No shock there. It'll be a Blu-ray Disc Collector's Edition set. It'll produce 6,000 copies total. 37 Blu-ray discs in 4:3 aspect ratio. An 11-inch Goku Grandista figure by Ben Presto, hardcover art book, certificate of authenticity, and the box with new bonus content. Doesn't mention the price anywhere. That's weird. Let's see if the... Nope. Weird. Twitter is not responding, but there it is. Let me just pull up something here. How it works. Watch a video. So wait, the legacy. It's $350 if you want all of DBZ on Blu-ray. That's a lot of money. Not unreasonable, but For how many episodes is that? Dragon Ball Z was what? Looks like 291 episodes. So yeah, a little over $1 an episode. That's not terrible. Let's see what else. Crunchyroll's licensed the new Strike Witches. No shocker there. The producer of PA Works has said he wants to work on a new original work with Jun Maeda. Saying that the 6th episode of Charlotte and the 10th episode of Angel Beach were the most that he cried at a PA Works show. That's interesting. So, it's odd because that's something you don't say unless there's something behind it. Why would you say I'd like to work with this person out of nowhere, especially on the official English and Japanese Twitter accounts? That just doesn't sound like there's a random note. So I wonder if we have a new Jun Maeda work coming up soon. That'd be awesome. Angel Beats was pretty mind blowing. The manga artist Haruichi is starting a Star Wars manga. Star Wars Princess Leia's Test will be launching on May 4th, Star Wars Day, centering on a 16-year-old Leia Organa, which sounds very much like a shoujo. She faces a mandatory test in preparation for becoming Queen of Alderaan. She's busy with her studies of various topics such as politics and martial arts. She then falls in love with the intellectual and kind-hearted fellow Alderaanian Kia, whom she meets at youth parliament. Meanwhile, she learns the important secret of her parents. Yeah, that sounds pretty manga. Haruichi, the mangaka in question, was an excellent Rookie Award winner in the Tetsuya Chiba Awards. His debut work is called Doctor Strange. I don't know if that's... Well, he's also written manga related to Guardians of the Galaxy and Deadpool, so I guess he is a Marvel person, so that's pretty cool. Digital Manga, speaking of manga, is launching a new imprint called Lilica that will specialize in Yuri Dojin manga. So these will be self-published works, presumably not using licensed characters. That's interesting. That'd be cool. There's so much Dojin that's original. That's not, using licensed characters that we just never see. We tend to think that, Dojin is just, Attack on Titan characters, having sex. But no, apparently not. There's a Cells at Work spin-off around platelets coming. Spin-off manga. That's about all we know, it looks like. June issue of Monthly Shonen Serious revealed that the creator of Cells at Work, and it looks like the artist behind Joshiraku and Toradora, will launch this. It'll be called Platelets at Work, starting on May 25th. Cool. So next month, basically, we'll have the new Platelet Chan story. I'll read that if it comes out. Then finally, the British Museum in London has an upcoming manga exhibition. More details have been released. It'll run from May 23rd to August 26th. Divided into 6 zones, talking about how manga is made, storytelling, genres, etc., and so forth. They will include art by Keiko Takamiya of Toward the Terra and Katsuhiro Otomo of Akira, as well as a 17-meter long kabuki curtain from 1880. Interesting. Then they'll look at avant-garde manga, crossovers, gaming, like Pokemon, that kind of stuff. They'll have a bespoke mascot, a character called Mimi-chan, a white rabbit, which will be created by the artist behind In This Corner of the World, which is cool. It'll accompany guests throughout the exhibition. That makes sense. Also include art by Hokusai, Kyosai, Osamu Tezuka, Fujio Akatsuka, Akira Toriyama. Takehiko Inoue, Eiichiro Oda, Moto Hagio, Keiko Takemiya, and Akiko Higashimura. Free to museum members. Non-members, adult non-member tickets are £20 basically. Concessions available, including free entry to under 16s if accompanied by an adult. Akiko Higashimura is the person behind, looks like Princess Jellyfish. Gotcha. Also be free lectures linked to the exhibit. Cool. And the promotional image for it is the girl from Golden Kamui, which is kind of interesting. So, hey, Game Escape, good to see you. I have seen the first 7 episodes, I think, of Ancient Magus' Bride, which I thoroughly enjoyed. The problem is, like, I'd read all of this before watching the anime. I've been really, deep into that manga. And when the anime came out, I'm like, this is a really, close adaptation of the manga, and why am I spending time watching something that I've already read? Like, again, well done, but not a particularly good use of my time. Once I could see that it was the right thing, that it was, once I could see that it was a good adaptation, I was like, okay, good. I don't need to watch more stuff like that. Hey, Suzume, good to see you. But, yeah, I will say, I don't know, the tone of Ancient Magus' Bride, the manga, is, it bounces around a lot. It can be very comedic, it can be very serious and dark, and kind of also be pretty much in the middle. So, let's go with, Volume 1, you get everything from, this very serious stuff, beautiful, but very, very clearly serious stuff. And then, let's see here. She goes to, let's see, here's a good example here. There's the stuff there with the fairies. And then when you get to the little sprites, the artwork gets very, very chibi. There we go. And even Chise's reactions are very chibi. So it can be quite lighthearted at times. Even the reactions of what's his name? What is his name? The Magus. Believe I can't remember him. But yeah. Even some of his facial reactions are pretty pretty goofy at times. This is not an example from him, but just again another example of how lighthearted it can be. And so I think that tone is a little hard to capture in the anime. It works, I think, a little better in the manga in the sense that you can move past the comedy if you're deep into the drama. But it serves as a good breather from the seriousness often of that manga. But the pacing of the anime is quite different. So you gotta get used to that difference there, which I'm fine with. I don't think it's it's bad at all. But just the pacing of the manga works, I think, a little bit better for that tone. I personally kind of wish they had gone a little bit more, either just very serious or a little bit more just straight comedic, I guess, a little lighter, I guess, with the anime. It's a very small nitpick. It's one of those, that is a well-made anime series there, so no complaints. Just slightly different in tone. I need to catch up on Ancient Magus' Bride, actually. Did I say? Elias, of course. That's his name. Elias is pretty cool. Yeah, it is interesting sort of comparing the difference between the anime and the manga, when you can do that. One of the remarkable things about Rurouni Kenshin is going back and reading that manga and seeing how the pacing of that is different between the manga and the anime. And the advantage there is that because the anime has so many episodes to work with, they can kind of they can kind of pace it in a way that is appropriate to that to that medium, and they don't have to rush through. They don't have to kind of draw things out if they don't have to, and so the pace of Kenshin, at least the first two seasons, was very appropriate to that show, and you felt like they were adapting it in a way that that just really made sense for the medium. But you go back to the manga, and the manga has just it's very differently paced. It's in many ways it just goes like really powerfully, really fast. The manga often, whereas the anime is a little bit more drawn out. But that's because you're watching anime. You can't stop and look at a particular drawing and really understand what's going on. It's constantly moving. Animation occurs in time, and manga and comics fundamentally do not. I think in general the most of the time, if it goes in any direction, the manga will be darker than the anime, just because of the anime is going to go towards the larger audience, the wider audience, and wider audiences generally don't go for really dark stuff. They like some lightness there. So if you're curious, it's always kind of worth going back to that manga. Excuse me. To see what's going on, which is kind of ironic considering how in Japan those manga magazines sell on street corners and they're relatively ubiquitous. It's not that everyone reads them. It's not that millions and millions and millions of Japanese folks are reading Akira Got Kill or whatever, but they're certainly widely available. But just I guess TV is kind of that universal medium, the one that everyone has in their homes, kind of turned on 24 hours a day, more or less. So yeah, you definitely get those shifts in tone and approach, which I think is kind of nice. Actually, you get different approaches to things. When they go, they can go in one direction. Also, granted, sometimes that manga, they went for a particular tone in the manga, and the folks adapting it are like, well, maybe we don't like the approach taken there. Maybe we would like to try something more tonally consistent. Manga can bounce around a lot in tone, whereas the anime can say, nope, we're gonna be dark, or we're gonna be lighthearted, or we're gonna focus on the romance here, or what have you. The folks coming along later can sometimes see with more clarity than the original folks involved, especially because you can see that larger swath of the storyline. And when Trigun was adapted to anime, quite famously, they came up with a structure for that anime that kind of surprised the mangaka, and he really liked the way that the anime cast came up with a way of structuring that story, which he just hadn't thought of. That's fine. There's nothing against the original creator. It doesn't mean they're dumb. It doesn't mean there's anything against them. It's just that they had this conception back then, and now with the light of time and experience and be able to see how it all evolved, you can say, oh, it would be much better if this were introduced at this point. How else do you tell? Why is that light? Wow, that's weird. Is it that? Yeah, I have a light right here, and it's reflecting all the way back to that. That's remarkable. Sorry, got a little bit distracted there. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Akira famously, I think, is one that is probably tonally a little more consistent in the anime, but the manga is just bigger and broader and more epic than the anime is, which is appropriate. The manga can goes on for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of pages. I think it's a 2,000-page manga, whereas that movie is a little over 2 hours, and so there's only so much you can do in that time. And so they very wisely decided, okay, let's obviously there's some black humor in Akira, but it's more focused in that sense than the manga, because the manga is sweeping and grand in a way that the anime just cannot be in 2 hours. As sweeping and grand and epic as that anime is, the manga is bigger. Oh, let's see here. I'm thinking of other cases. I'm looking actually at the Gundam manga, but that's kind of weird because the manga came afterwards. And that, but that's actually it is interesting because that manga does feel like a more coherent version of that story. When you're able to go back to an anime, or go back to the story of an anime and say, okay, if we didn't have to fill 50 episodes or however many, if we didn't have to have a battle every week, how would we have told this story? What are the really important, plot points, and how could we weave that together in a way that doesn't have the same restrictions Oh, okay, excuse me. As the anime series does. Anime series, yeah. It's one of the reasons I really like that manga is because it feels like yes, this is a cleaned up version of that story, frankly. And again, it helps coming back, 20, 30 years later to look at that storyline. Let's see what else. Other manga versus anime differences. I'm looking down there at Phoenix, which is Osamu Tezuka's life work, which has been adapted to anime, I think, a couple of different times. I know it's been adapted before, but I've never seen an adaptation of Phoenix that really does the manga justice. I don't think, which is strange because the manga is cinematic. The manga is big and it feels like a Hollywood movie. Each of those segments, but it is also it's a meditation on many aspects of human nature, which I think don't come across very well in your typical, action adventure kind of adaptation. So I'd love to see somebody tackle that in a way that really feels like that manga. I don't know how you do that. Could China, Japan, and Korea work together to create an anime together? Sure. Granted, Japan and Korea do all the time. Korean anime studios have been doing tweening and completing shots and such for Japan for decades now. So that's been a thing. China, that's the sticking point. I don't see China really wanting or really allowing, a co-production between Japan and Korea. Partly too because China is trying to establish its industries and its animation studios, and so I think kind of leaning on those things would look bad. Leaning on the expertise of other countries would be a problem. And I kind of like that. I think it's good that different countries try to find their own style and their own approach, and so you get you know, your Korean anime doesn't feel exactly like Japanese anime, if you consider that to be anime. I probably wouldn't at this point. I don't think Korean animation really feels much like anime. Chinese animation looks distinctive, and probably over the next 10 or 20 years, we're going to see that really come into its own, as that actually gets serious funding. But I don't think there's anything really preventing those folks from working together. Except China. China is just too locked down to really do that. And I think if the folks just sat down, I don't think a given Chinese animator would refuse to work with a Japanese animator. So who knows? You're right, Seth, and hey, Korea's increasing in popularity. Their live action movies have certainly gotten a lot of attention. There's a lot of the Korean dramas are getting in their audience. K-pop is certainly getting more and more popular over in the West. Brazil's had a bit of interesting. Yeah, I think Korea for a while, and it's hard for any society, culture, to develop an animation industry. Right? Animation's expensive, and producing a lot of it is not easy. So I think with the with what America already has, right? So much animation is produced from America that it's hard to compete with that volume. It's a problem that's been for a lot of countries for many, many decades. This idea that, okay, I can either fund an animation, made in my native country, or I can license something made in America or Russia or Japan for a tenth the cost. Right? It's kind of hard to go there. But I do think that Korea is going to have a dedicated sort of indie animation industry for the foreseeable future. The success of Green Day's Dinosaur and I, Leafy, Hen into the Wild, all those things have certainly sort of kickstarted that industry. And there's enough people in Korea that really obviously want to have a remarkable animation industry. We'll keep it alive. But I just don't see them producing, dozens of animated films or TV series a year. Japan's been just churning those out for decades. There's probably as many, episodes of anime coming out in 1982 as there will come out this year, right? There's just this huge amount of demand. That may be an overstatement. But there's been a lot of anime being produced in Japan for decades and decades. So that industry is just not going to die easily. There's a market for it. So we'll see. But you do get co-productions, and you do get different studios helping each other out. I think that's probably more what we'll see, is that Korea will want to make an animated film, and to make that they will also rely on some Japanese studios, helping them out with certain shots and finishing things out. Right, exactly, Seth. You have that problem that the people who want to make it tend to go towards the place where it's made, and so it's hard to to find the right talent anywhere outside of those centers. It's the 80-20 principle to an extent. And so you have, if you want to make a movie, it's hard not to do that in Los Angeles where all of the stuff is. And obviously there's other places, but interesting note on that, the Mystery Science Theater guys, the Riff Tracks crew, they make fun of bad movies. They've done a bunch of live shows, like dozens of them now, where they riff bad movies on stage. And they all live in the Midwest, but they do the shows out of Nashville. And the reason is that the company they found that does the live streaming of their live shows, basically, broadcasts them out to theaters across the country. They're based in Nashville. And so, like, for their first show, they did that first show in, like, the Midwest, like, in their hometown. And they had to ship all the equipment out there and set it all up over there. Then they realized, why don't we just fly the, 3 people doing this to Nashville and do it there? It turns out to be way cheaper to do it where all the equipment is, right? The plane ticket to Nashville is never going to be as expensive as trucking, literally giant trucks worth of equipment across the country with all of the, employees and, technical talent and so forth. There are probably 20 people who make all that stuff happen behind the scenes just during the live show, not to mention, promotion and so forth and so on. So, you get those sort of nuclei of capability, right? If you want to do that, you go there. And I think the same thing is in LA. Same thing with animation. If you live in Switzerland and you want to make animation, it's going to be a lot. You're a lot more likely to say, I'm going to go to Los Angeles or I'm going to go to Japan and make animation there than to say, I'm going to stay in Switzerland and make animation, right? How do you do that? I've had that problem here trying to, make my own animations. Very cool, Ferris. Writing your first graphic novel. Good for you. That is a very fun experience. If you're interested, there's a really good book. A couple of really good books. But particularly... few books that I found really useful. One is Writers on Comic Script Writing, edited by Mark Salisbury. This is a collection of published comic artists, or I'm sorry, comic writers, talking about, and just there's various essays and interviews with them about, mainly interviews, about how they write comics. Very useful. Then there is Jessica Abels and Matt Madden's Drawing Words and Writing Pictures, which is basically it's more of a guide to it, with kind of saying, okay, here's how layout works. Here's why you want things in certain places. Here's how you frame things. So there's a lot of useful information here about kind of the structure of a comic, how the writing contrasts with the drawings and all that kind of good stuff. And then there's Manga in Theory and Practice by Hirohiko Araki, who is the creator of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which you may have heard of. And he wrote a book, basically a book about how manga should be made, how manga should be thought of, how it should be structured from a story perspective. And this is it translated into English. So that's pretty darn cool, very interesting. Obviously, you're not going to write your stuff like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and that's not what he's recommending here. But it's kind of what he has seen, what he has realized through many, many years of writing manga. So very useful. Into the art phase, cool. What do Japanese anime fans think of North American fans? That'd be a good documentary. I agree. Yeah, certainly the fandoms are different. The Japanese fandom is famously a little more obsessive, in the sense of like literally filling your house with just anime merch and manga merch. But they don't have the same kind of diversity of fandom, right? In the sense that we have so many hundreds of conventions over here in America. Obviously, we're also bigger, and the geography makes a big impact on there. But you don't see that same kind of thing amongst anime fans or manga fans in Japan. I think you do amongst like sci-fi and fantasy fans. I think there are a lot of sci-fi conventions in Japan, but I get this sense there's not a lot of like otaku stuff in that. There's a really interesting documentary about cosplay that was on, I think, Netflix some years ago. And it was made by a French company, actually, and like a French crew. It's in French, subtitled. And they go to Japan, and they go to this get together of like military otaku, where they basically run around in teams with like airsoft rifles and such. And they're not like really reenacting battles, but they're basically playing around as various militaries throughout history. And so you got folks in various uniforms, and American uniforms and so forth, and there are folks cosplaying as Nazis. And the French documentary crew just cannot grasp why anyone would seriously cosplay as Nazis and not see that as a problem. So it was, and I think I mentioned this before, but it was really interesting seeing, the French side being like, this is really offensive, and the Japanese side saying, no, like we're not condoning, the Nazi actions. We're just wearing their uniforms, right? It's a form of play. But yeah, pretty cool. Oh, interesting, Game Escape. That's really cool. So yeah. Cool affairs. But yeah, I mean, different cultures take this very differently. I know in Italy, for example, manga fandom is very big, arguably bigger than anime fandom, just because they've had huge amounts of manga in Italy, basically fan translated into Italian. And there's just been, for decades, there's been huge amounts of manga in Italy. And like Brazil and South America in general has gotten a lot of anime back in the 70s and 80s that weren't available in North America. So created a big anime fandom down there. Hey, Paper Dinosaur, good to see you. And so I think that, and that just creates different cultures. I think we see different cultures partly because just, there's different availability. There's different stuff people want, different stuff people can get or cannot get and get obsessed over. There was a big interest in laser discs over here in America for a while because that was the only way you could get anime subtitled, kind of straight from the source and legally. And so there's a huge amount of that material. Kamikaze Girls. I don't believe I've checked out Kamikaze Girls. Let me just pull it up real quick. Kamikaze. Obviously, I've heard of it. Yeah, no, I have not. I might actually have it on DVD here somewhere, because I seem to recall having stumbled across a copy somewhere. But yeah. And Princess Jellyfish is arguably about fashion, and the collision of the fashion world with a very non-fashion person. Very interesting. But yeah, there's also a book. I don't think I have a copy of it around. It is set at an anime studio, actually several anime studios, and part of it is about a one of these little rural Japanese anime studios that's out in some tiny town where they're working on some show, and they tween on a couple different shows at any given time, and one of the main characters is this young woman who is sort of an otaku, and she's she loved this stuff growing up, and she learned to draw and got into the industry, and now she's out in the middle of nowhere. Like this is like the biggest business in this town, other than fishing, and it's just very different. And no one there watches anime, right? No one in that town watches anime at all. So getting used to that. Online resources to buy anime other than Amazon. Definitely Right Stuff. RIGHTSTUF.com, because they are anime fans who also sell anime, and their prices are equivalent to Amazon's. And you get some fun stuff with Right Stuff. They like to do special things here and there. eBay, definitely. You can find a lot of stuff on eBay. That's an effective place to go. But yeah, normally I just go for Amazon or Right Stuff because it's all there. Crunchyroll occasionally they will also sell stuff, so you can go on there and you can get some merchandise, and you can get some box sets occasionally really cheaply, or just unusual box sets that it's probably on Amazon somewhere, but you wouldn't necessarily find it otherwise. And Crunchyroll will highlight it in a way that's helpful. Funimation, yep, definitely. Funimation likes having you buy anime. That's the place to go. Yeah, so I think those are the primary places now. Obviously, there are some anime retailers worth looking at. I think Robert's Anime Corner Store is still around. Is it? Robert's Anime Corner Store was around for just forever. There's a starts with a flash. Wow, it appears to still be there. I don't know, and this is a very, very old design. Let me scroll down a bit. Copyright through 2019. Let's just click through a little bit. This is animecornerstore.com. Anime DVD and Blu-ray disc by title. Yeah, this all looks fairly recent. So I think you can actually buy stuff on here. Wow. The design is definitely about 20 years old. But you can get it, and the prices are actually pretty good. what I'm looking at here. All of Air for $15. That doesn't seem right. Yeah, Air TV series, Save Edition. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Akagami Got Kill. Speaking of, Blu-ray, $60. Yeah. DVD Blu-ray disc combo set, which looks like it contains a bunch of extras, is like 60. Yeah, half off. Cool. Those prices are pretty good. Good to see Robert's still around. Best Buy's an option. Best Buy selection varies a lot. Like my local Best Buy has almost no anime. But it definitely depends on where you are and what they stock. Actually, there's a local used bookstore. Obviously, you'd have to physically go there. But I have a local used bookstore that has quite a big manga collection. I'm sorry, quite a big anime collection and a manga collection. Actually, a huge manga collection. So it's worth kind of going to, checking out used bookstores in the area, and you may find a lot of anime on there. And not stuff that's only 20 years old or older. There's some recent stuff in there folks who just got rid of. You can get it darn cheap. I got all of Gunbuster 2 for $15. Yeah, half price books. You can often find some stuff there. Worth doing a little bit of treasure hunting in those places, especially because you can find stuff that just you would never have heard of anywhere else. Stuff that's just frankly out of print. You can often find at those like used books places. Worth trying. My local I have a Barnes and Noble not far from me, and as I recall last time I went in there, they had a certainly decent manga collection. Obviously, they don't really sell DVDs, but if you're looking for that stuff, sometimes those stores do have them. So sometimes worth trying. In fact, while I was in that used bookstore a couple of weeks ago, there was someone unloading a bunch of anime, selling it. Yeah, so they have a program where you can sell stuff to the store. It's a used bookstore. That's how it works. And they, there was a Tenchi Perfect collection. They were selling a bunch of stuff. Every so often I go back and look to see what if that's made it to the store shelves, and if so, I might pick that up because I had it back in the day. I still have the disc, but I don't have the actual package. And so if the whole thing is cheap, I might just buy the package so I have it sitting around here. It'd be a fun thing to have on set somewhere. Death March of the Parallel World. Nice. Yeah, I think Gunbuster 2 is the most recent thing I picked up. But I need to watch more Dororo. The Crystal Girl one. Wow, Land of the Lustrous. That's it. Wow, Death March is already out of print? That's amazing. So out of touch sometimes. Certainly times when I feel like, didn't that just come out? Gosh. Crazy. Things do evolve quickly. Kind of amazing. I've actually been playing some of Days Gone today. And because a couple weeks ago I was like, oh yeah, that game's coming out at some point. It's coming out in 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. So I've been playing some of that, which is I wouldn't call it fun necessarily. It's not meant to be fun in the sense of oh yay, but it is an intense, very well crafted game, which I'm really enjoying. And not anime, but one of those things I'm yep, they seem to know what they're doing on every single bit of this game, which is just fun to experience. Haven't been playing much video games recently. I do want to pick up Dreams. In fact, I might do that tonight. Might buy Dreams because Dreams just seems like such a perfect kind of game and environment for me and for what's going on. Oh, so here's a question for you all. I may be going to a friend's house tomorrow night to watch some anime with him. He's been exposed to basically Studio Ghibli. That's about it. He likes anime. He's seen a few bits and pieces of things here and there, but that's about it. And we probably only have time for a movie. He loves Ghibli and Miyazaki. And he's very um, like he is able to, as much as he loves that stuff, to sit down and say, I like this one, I didn't like this one, I like this part of that. You know, he can really analyze his interest in things um, in a way that's not disparaging. So, what should I show him? I have some ideas, but I'd love to know what you guys think I should bring, because he basically wants me to bring some anime to watch. I'll probably like bring one or I'll probably bring like three different things that are significantly different, and say, do you want something light or do you want something dark? But what would you recommend as a movie for someone who's basically only seen Ghibli, wants some anime, and he's pretty open in terms of genre and style and so forth. I don't think he'd be up for anything like super absurdly grimdark. Tenjimoyo in Love, good choice. I like that. Yep, it's a good start. Like I might bring Akira, which is definitely kind of grimdark, but it is a classic. Perfect Blue, yeah. I mean, honestly, I'm tempted. And Perfect Blue is I think a movie that he would appreciate. He would get. Also, I should point out, he was an actor for a while, for a couple of years. Wolf Children, yeah, Summer Wars. Ghost in the Shell, yeah, certainly a classic. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, I'm thinking about that one. I think Perfect Blue I'm going to save for a little bit. I'm going to introduce him to a few other things and then do Perfect Blue. Because I kind of want to ease him into Perfect Blue a little bit. Um, ooh, yeah, Fractal. Yeah, lighthearted until it definitely suddenly isn't. There are definitely a few moments in Fractal where it's like, ooh, gee. But yeah, I definitely agree Fractal would be a good one. But again, we don't have time for Fractal. Um, hmm. I mean, I might do Girl Who Leapt Through Time because it's light. There's definitely a twist. There's stuff going on if you're paying attention, but it's also not. It's a crowd pleaser. It's inoffensive in that sense. So I think he certainly wouldn't mind that. He also loves Digimon, I should point out. So Mamoru Hosoda would probably be a good next step. Your Name, that's a good point. Yep, Your Name would be a good thing. Mary and the Witch's Flower. He's seen Mary and the Witch's Flower, to my surprise, because he heard that it was a sort of Ghibli-esque, so he did watch that like a few months ago. Cool, thanks. I will keep those in mind, and I will see what's going to go on there. Hopefully, we can figure out something there, and like I said, I'll bring a few different things. I found if I bring a bunch of stuff and say, kind of, what are you in the mood for, and I kind of narrow it down, that like he would almost rather me just bring something and we'll just kind of watch that. He doesn't really want to make decisions, in the sense that he would rather just kind of rely on somebody else's judgment. Not that he doesn't have judgment, but he's like he'd rather just say, okay, let's just watch something. Let's just go for it. So that's kind of an advantage that I don't feel like I have to really judge his mood in that sense. So we'll see. Cool. Well, I think I'm going to go and play some more Days Gone. We've got more Anime Club tomorrow. We're going to finish out Eccentric Family Season 2, or basically Series 2, I suppose, tomorrow, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern. Then we've got the tabletop game tomorrow night as well. And if Dreams works out, if I manage to get a copy of Dreams, I might stream some of that on Sunday. I would like doing that. So keep an eye on Twitch or YouTube, and you may see me making some stuff in Dreams, or at least trying to do stuff in Dreams. Who knows? Dreams definitely seems like it's a programming language, basically. So we'll see. Thank you all very much. Again, this was great. I always love having you here. Until next time, watch more anime.